So David, you've been CEO for 20 plus years now. Tell us a bit around that.
Yeah, so last 20 years running international companies across Australia, including businesses up in Asia and New Zealand, employing large numbers of people. Last company was 1,500 odd. A company before was 4,000 odd employees. So had a really a great time as a CEO, having built companies, and now I'm moving into working with a group called Strathmore Business Consulting. So it's around doing board advisory and mentoring managers and employees of companies, helping them with their strategy, helping companies with their tenders and their growth strategy. So that's been pretty much what I've been doing a more recent time, but hung up the boots from being a full-time CEO in 22, and now with Strathmore Business Consulting, and now what we're about to talk about today.
Perfect. And so tell me a little bit more, so what is it exactly we're walking into now? Obviously going and launching Strathmore Executive Recruitment and everything you're working on. Why did you see that was a necessity that you bring to the table? Obviously, a lot of people could argue that you go 20 years, why do that now? You could just walk away from it.
Yeah.
Why the need for that?
Look, I guess you only really go into something if there's a gap in the market. And so I felt there's been a gap in the market for some time, both as an employer, having directly employed people, and also using recruitment companies over the years. I've just felt that there's really a need to be able to provide a more bespoke service, particularly for executive recruitment around the C-suite, around directors, general managers, board appointments, that type of thing.
And so, within that company, you've seen the gap in the market. What are some of the key points that you're obviously trying to attack to improve what is already out there? Obviously, like we said, those things exist, but through your experience of using them in the past, not necessarily being the nicest, smoothest, or most effective way to go about things. How is this going to be different?
So, look, again, having used executive recruitment companies over the years, there's been varying experiences. Some really good, some not so good. And really, that's part of how we've formed Getting today in terms of getting with this business. So I guess probably the key is doing executive recruitment undertaken by experienced CEOs and directors, which is really quite important when you're recruiting for CEOs and directors. These are people who have been there, they understand the journey, they've been in the position of running big companies, they know their way around profit and loss and cash flow, and they've sat at the board table. And so it makes sense that when you're recruiting for those type of folk, that you really have people that are experienced in doing it. So I think that's a differentiator, because not all recruitment companies do that, and something that I've been a little bit critical of over the years. I guess probably the next key one is really about costs. So, whilst I've been able to, in my past company as CEO, I've been able to afford to pay for recruitment companies, I often haven't, because they've often charged fairly large rates. So they're normally at 15 to 18% of the base salary plus superannuation plus car and so forth. So it does add up. So it doesn't really matter the size of your budget. That's a very expensive cost. So what we're doing is capping everything at 10%, which is well below what the market are doing, and I think that's more than reasonable and a fair rate to be able to apply to recruiting executives. And I guess probably one of the other differentiators are, we don't just advertise and hope for the best. We look more closely into the market. We undertake headhunting if our customers require that, and take a more thorough approach to the market. And what often recruiters will tell you when you're engaging with them is that, and I've often been critical of this, is that they'll tell you that they've got people on their books. So you'll enter into the agreement, and generally they source any new applicants through Seek and social media and so forth. So I guess what's really important is being able to provide a good, honest service.